Sony Bravia 8 Mark II is equipped with the MediaTek Pantonic 1000 chipset, which means that only 2 out of 4 HDMI inputs are full bandwidth HDMI 2.1 ports.
Come on now, dawg. Come on, man.
Welcome into the video, welcome into the channel. Hope everybody's doing well out there. And in today's video, I'm going to be discussing a couple of reasons why I will not be buying the new Sony Bravia 8 Mark II. And this is being filmed on my 77-inch LG G4. And I'm filming this on my 77-inch LG C2. And I'm filming this on my 42-inch LG C3. And based on some of the information that is starting to be put out by the YouTube reviewers and things like that, when it comes to the 2025 Sony TV lineup, I have to say there were a couple of things that really stood out to me and immediately told me that Sony, well, there's going to be another year that goes by that I don't purchase another Sony TV. And for those of you that are new to the channel, I bought only Sony TVs for years and years. I bought pretty much every single year. I looked forward to whatever new TV was coming out from Sony that would be kind of that incremental or even a big jump and upgrade. And I just couldn't wait to see what Sony was going to put out. And things started to change for me when the current generation of consoles came out, that being the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series X. And my excitement for purchasing Sony TVs just about every single year was centered around how good and how great it looked for gaming. But when the PS5 and the Xbox Series X came out, that's when I really started to take a look at things like HDMI 2.1, 4K at 120 frames per second. And the closest that I could get to that at the time was on my 75-inch X950G. And while that was certainly a great TV for the time, it was super bright, it was colorful, I really enjoyed it, but it was lagging behind in gaming and definitely lagging behind compared to today's features, which, you know, that's a well duh moment, right? We're, what, 5-6 years past that. But at the time that the PS5 and the Xbox Series X came out, I was finally able to get a taste of 120 frames per second, but on the X950G, I could only do it at 1080p 120 FPS. And while I certainly was okay with that, I just really was enjoying the smoothed out frame rate. It felt great. Clearly it was behind resolution wise, and boy did I not know what I was missing until I purchased my first OLED shortly after, which was a 77-inch Sony A80J, which I still own to this day. And that gave me my first opportunity to see what 4K at 120 Hertz looked like on an OLED, and I've never looked back. OLED for gaming is the choice for me moving forward. Here's the thing. Back when I made my first OLED purchase, which was the A80J, that came out in 2021, all right? At that time, the A80J only came with 2 HDMI ports capable of 4K at 120 Hertz. Now, in prior years, that didn't matter to me because I was only gaming on one console. I wasn't thinking I need 4K at 120. We're talking when I was gaming on PS3, PS4, stuff like that. Once the Xbox Series X and PS5 came out and you got 4K at 120, and OLED became more and more affordable. I'll put air quotes around affordable because that'll mean something different to everybody. I quickly realized how much I was giving up when it came to gaming, and especially considering I bought a PS5, I bought an Xbox Series X. I wanted to take advantage of the updated graphics, the frames per second capabilities, all that stuff. The X950G wasn't going to cut it anymore, so I knew it was time to upgrade. And while I was doing my TV shopping, I realized that Sony just wasn't going to make the cut for a new gaming TV to replace the X950G. Why? Because you couldn't get any of them with more than 2 HDMI ports capable of 4K at 120 Hertz. Now, I did mention that I bought a Sony A80J. That was for our family room viewing. That's for all our content consumption. So for that particular display, having only 2 HDMI 2.1 ports capable of 4K at 120 was irrelevant because that display is never used for gaming. That is content consumption only. So I'm okay with that setup. But when it comes to gaming and all around usage, once we got into this generation of consoles And I realized I wanted to have more ports capable of 4K at 120 because I have an AV receiver that ties up one of them, leaving you with one left. And in the beginning, I did try a splitter on the A80J because I was so desperate to do 4K at 120 on the OLED and to experience that sort of gaming. I bought one of those 4K splitters. I believe it's an 8K splitter even, where I could just press a button and go back and forth between the Xbox and the PS5. And I did that for, I don't know, a few weeks. And between the fact that I'd have to get up, it was hidden behind the TV, so you had extra behind the TV now in the entertainment center or whatever, the TV stand. Not only that, but I'd have to get up, and every time I want to play one console or the other, I have to go back there, press the button. You know, I just got tired of that. And I said, no, if I'm going to upgrade my game room display, I'm going to do it right. And if I'm going to have both consoles connect at the same time, I'm only considering options that have 4 ports capable of 4K at 120. And 2 of them met the bill at the time. LG had some offerings and Samsung's had some offerings. I'll save why I went LG for another video if you care about that. If you do care about it, leave a like on the video. That'll let me know. But for the purposes of today's video, and more specific to Sony and why I will not be buying the Bravia 8 Mark II, number one, I've already talked about it. Still only 2 HDMI 2.1 ports capable of 4K at 120. How in the are we in 2025? And you're still putting out displays, not just entry level, but your top of the line displays with only 2 HDMI 2.1 ports is just mind boggling. I mean, if I could go, I mean, it would be funny to think back in 2021 when I got into the 80J and OLEDs and HDMI 2.1 and all that. There's no way I thought we'd be at 2025 and Sony would not have put out even at least an entry-level OLED like their A80 series with 4 HDMI 2.1s to catch up. They still haven't done it. But let's dive in real quick to the second reason why, and that's size matters. Don't let people out there tell you size doesn't matter, because it does. The Sony Bravia 8 Mark II is only going to be coming out in 55 and 65 inches. That's no-go number 2 for me. Because forget the fact that you're looking at my G4, which is my primary gaming display. Let's say for the sake of argument, I was ready to go back to Sony. This is a 77 inch. There's zero chance that I'm going to go backwards in size. But I have a Sony A80J. That would be the best case in my house to upgrade displays. That would be a tremendous upgrade in processing, color, picture performance, all that, to go from an A80J to a Bravia 8 Mark II would be amazing. But I can't do it because I'd have to go from 77 down to 65, and especially for the size of the room that display sits in, that is a no-go 100% of the time, all day. Can't do it. And that's a shame. Now, I know some of you in the comments are going to be bothering me about, you don't really need 4 HDMI 2.1s, get the splitter, or just only use one console, or whatever it is. Well, you really don't need, who cares about the size? 65 is okay. And if the 65 bothers you too much, you can get a 77. It's just going to be the A95 carried over. Yeah, carried over from the last 2 years. For me to feel like it's a worthwhile upgrade over my A80J for content consumption only, first of all, there's nothing wrong with my A80J. It's performing great still. It's been an excellent display for content consumption. I don't have many complaints at all about it, if any. However, the fact that the Bravia 8 Mark II is only going to be in 55 and 65, that would be the jump that it's like, okay, I'm going to make this investment on something I really don't need to enjoy the elevated performance. At minimum, it has to be a 77, and I don't really feel great about going to the A95L, even though I'm sure it's a fantastic display. I'm sure you A95L owners in my comments are going to be all over me defending it, and that's great. I'm sure it's a great display, but it's 2 years old now, okay? For an upgrade, I'm trying to go for the current year's models, and the fact that at some point this year, if my A80J goes kaput and I need to replace it out of necessity, the Bravia 8 Mark II cannot and will not be on my list. And that's a shame because, again, I was what some would probably call a Sony fanboy for like a decade straight. I literally wouldn't even look another TV manufacturer's way. I was so happy with Sony until they just fell that far behind when it came to gaming. And then at this point, I've become so happy and impressed with the picture quality I have on my C2, C3, and this G4. When it comes to content consumption only to replace the 80J, and especially with only 55 and 65 being available this year for the Bravia 8 Mark II, I'm probably more likely to move this G4 out there to replace it as the new content consumption only display, and then replace this G4 in here with a G5 for my gaming / mixed needs for that. So, but I want to hear from you. What are your thoughts about Sony's 2025 lineup, and really specifically that Bravia 8 Mark II? What are your thoughts on my comments in this video? I want to know where you stand on it. Leave me some comments below. I can't wait to get into a discussion in the comments section with you. And as always, if you did enjoy this video, be sure to hit the like button so more people sees it. And if you're new to my channel, be sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on the bell. I got a ton of content still coming on this G4. I still do content on my C3 and my C2. You'll see those on the channel still as well if you have those. But hey, with all that being said, until the next one.